Like Robbie Williams is more of like a regular sized monkey.
But like to me,
is he an ape? What is
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm uncultured.
Yeah. We don't know much about Britain. Are there a lot of monkeys in Britain, or is it just
They're all
this
monkeys.
guy? They're all monkeys over there. Okay.
Initiating weekly entertainment brought to you by Extra Rad. Boys Meet Film will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy.
Welcome to Boys Meet Film. My name is Michael.
And I'm Cinema Overlord, but my friends call me Max.
Everybody calls him Max. Nobody calls him Cinema Overlord. But anyways, we're going to be talking about Better Man today, the Robbie Williams biopic. Not to be confused with Robin Williams.
Different guy.
Who also isn't a monkey in real life. Anyways, let's get into it. And I want to start off by asking you, do you know who Robbie Williams is? Did you know who he was before going into
No,
this
I
movie?
had no idea who Robbie Williams is, and I also didn't even see a trailer for this movie.
Really?
I saw just the poster, which was like the monkey or ape. And that's it. That was it. That was my only. You were like, hey, let's go see Better Man. I'm like, that's a monkey.
Yeah.
And I now know a lot more about Robbie Williams, but did not go into it.
I even like before going into this movie, I looked up like some of his music, and I didn't recognize one song.
Yeah.
There was a song that in the movie I realized like, oh, okay, I do know this one song.
Sure.
But yeah, I didn't know who he was. I think from everything that I heard, just like talking to people about this movie, a lot of people thought it was Robin Williams.
I feel like I remember somebody saying Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And
which I thought was funny because I did have that impression at first. I was like, oh, Robbie Williams, was that like his nickname or something?
Yeah.
But it really confused me that, he'd be portrayed by a CGI monkey.
I don't know. That seems on brand for Robin Williams.
Sure. Yeah. But I guess when I saw the trailer, seeing a CGI monkey on a stage, I was like,
yeah, that's probably
Robin Williams didn't do that. But yeah, I have zero clue who this guy is. And I felt almost kind of gaslit. I was like, do other people know who this guy is?
Well, and after the movie, I went on Spotify and he has like 18.9 million monthly listeners.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I've never heard this guy. This guy's huge.
Before the movie, I did do some research about him. And in the UK, I guess he's comparable to like Justin Timberlake.
Okay, got it.
Or which honestly, that doesn't even sound right to me because with that many listeners, like it kind of seems like he was like a Michael Jackson figure almost.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, there's 18.9 now,
Yeah,
so
true.
He's fallen off a little bit, but not much.
Yeah,
that's an insane amount of monthly on one platform.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And then I guess like as far as sales are concerned, like him and Ed Sheeran are pretty similar in the UK.
Yeah.
But the difference is that obviously Robbie Williams is like more in the UK market.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. It's weird that this movie, I don't know, the marketing for America I feel like was kind of poor because I don't think anybody knows who he is, and really, honestly, I don't think anybody cares, unfortunately.
Right.
And going into this movie, I wanted to hate this movie. Like I wanted to hate every single thing about it. I was fully prepared for us to have a conversation about our favorite worst movies. Everything about this movie. I hate CGI.
Yep.
I hate boy bands. And I wouldn't say I hate musicals because there are musicals that I appreciate and I really like, but I'm not seeking out musicals. That's not like my jam.
Yeah. And I love boy bands. I love CGI. And I love musicals. I can't get enough. Although I did not see the director's other movie, The Greatest Showman.
Mm.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. I haven't either.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I kind of feel like I need to see it now.
I was gonna say. I mean, this was a strong film.
This was
a pretty strong film, dude.
This film ripped. Dude.
I loved the energy of this film.
Yeah,
the pacing was awesome. Towards the end it got a little slow, but
go
for it. Give me your thoughts.
I was so shocked at how good this movie was. I think like the first 10, 15 minutes, I was really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, this is standard, biopic, whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's a shift in, kind of the boy band part of his life.
Yeah.
And it floored me, honestly. Like, there were so many moments where I actually got pretty emotional. Watching this movie.
Yeah, I almost cried.
Yeah.
I almost cried one time. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
I counted 3 times.
Yeah. There was some moments. I was shocked at how like cinematic it was. I don't even know if that's like a review thing to say, but like, I don't know, as a filmmaker myself, like it was shot really well. The transitions in the film were really cool.
Yeah.
Very creative stuff. And
the editing was insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the most creative editing I've seen.
I was going to say the editing was my favorite part because they were able to truncate large amounts of time into like large amounts of time that would have passed in the film into smaller sections, but still somehow give you an emotional impact within like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, and we'll get more into specifics, but one thing that I want to bring up that I thought was so strong is a lot of time in movies, I feel like relationships are rushed.
Yeah.
Like the meet cutes or whatever. Yeah. There's a scene in here about him, getting involved with the girl that I think is one of the strongest edited and crafted scenes of 2 people falling in love that I have ever seen, because it was so efficient. It was in the span of like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was less. It was like they did it during a song. It was a song, but then they cut out of it and then they come back to it.
Yeah, and
you are seeing. Yeah, we'll talk about it in the spoiler section, but like. I agree 100%. It was so powerful.
There's a lifetime in like a montage, which usually I feel like montages sometimes can come off cheap.
Yeah.
In certain cases too. But yeah, it was super effective.
Yeah. This was a really cool movie. I was shocked and blown away by this film.
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome.
What I'm afraid of is that people aren't going to see this movie.
Yeah.
At least here in America. I know in the UK, a lot of people probably will be.
Right.
But like, if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't have seen this movie.
Dude, I didn't even know it was a movie. I didn't get a single trailer in my algorithm at any point.
Yeah. Which
is crazy to me. Until the movie started coming out and we were seeing this.
Yeah. I literally, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless about the movie.
I feel the same way because it was so impactful emotionally, and it was extremely relatable. Even though it is set a little bit older, in the 90s, right? Or like 80s, 90s.
I think
his reign was like in the 90s, I feel like.
I think his solo career was really in the 2000s.
Okay, got it.
So I did notice there was like an award show and it said like 2002 or something like that.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, what I wrote down when we were watching the movie is this is the Wolf of Wall Street of music biopics.
Yeah, dude. I feel the same way. It was great.
So after the movie, I looked at Letterboxd because I was like, okay, I want to see what other people are saying about this.
Yeah.
Like, are other people as shocked? And I've been seeing a lot of people saying like it's very creative, it's stylish, but that it's still is kind of the normal like music bio narrative, which I didn't feel that at all. And I saw somebody say like, how many more music biopics are we going to be like putting out about drug addicts who have daddy issues?
Yeah.
And I was like I was thinking about that because to a degree I get it, that it's like a very common thing and it's being like kind of overused maybe, but also like that's his life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
So like what were they supposed to capture? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to say basic because like there was it felt very like there were some parts that I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be the messaging here.
Yeah.
You know, like, but that being said, like they packaged it in such a cool way that like I didn't really care. I was like, yeah, I understand they're going to go through these things, and there were still things that surprised me.
Yeah.
And I think even though the story may be similar, and we've seen a lot of this kind of story before, just the way they presented it was unique.
Yeah.
And also like criticism is a huge part of this film, and self-criticism too.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to see like the film addressing that so heavily, and then critics coming out and saying like that about this.
Well, and I'm really glad you brought up criticism being a big part of this film, because I think going into the movie, seeing the trailer, I think something that a lot of people are confused about is, why is he a monkey?
Like, I was going to say, are we going to talk about the monkey in the room?
Yeah. yeah. Let's talk about the monkey.
Let's address the monkey in the room.
Like I talked to my mom last night about the movie, and she was like, oh wait, that's about a real person.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a pretty common thing. Like I think a lot of people, because, you know, he's played by a CGI monkey, they're going to, I mean, here, nobody really knows who Robbie Williams is.
No.
You know?
Yeah. And now it's even more confusing.
Yeah.
Like, wait, there was this monkey guy just going around singing in a boy band? How have we never heard about this?
I do think, though, that it was such a strong choice and it worked very well.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Because the monkey representation is the way he views himself.
Right.
And at one point, I wouldn't say this is really a spoiler, because this is something that happens with a lot of stars who, you know, get famous when they're like really young. But, you know, he says in the movie, like, I never feel like I got to evolve.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he's a monkey, he feels like he's steps behind everybody else in his life, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that was really cool. And the monkey thing was so interesting to me too, because it makes him stand out a lot.
Yeah.
As the main character, because there's no other monkeys in the film.
Yeah.
And there was some times where I think the monkey thing is cool, and I suspended my disbelief for it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of times in the film where like maybe he would come into a room and somebody would look at him and I'd be like, that person should be freaking out because there's a monkey. But like, you know, like a few times I felt that where I was like, oh, they reacted that way because he's a monkey.
Oh, really?
That's how I felt. And it took me out for a second. And then I was like, oh no, I'm back in again.
Interesting.
Because it is like,
yeah.
But that was just my, like, if I were to see a actual monkey talking to me in a store or something, I would be I would react way differently.
Well, and I think that's the thing about the movie, though, is that nobody actually sees him as a monkey.
Right, yeah.
Like, nobody in the film ever says, oh my God, you stupid monkey. Or like,
exactly,
you know, nobody addresses that he's a monkey. And it's because nobody else sees him that way. He's the only person that sees himself as this like circus animal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
For me, like my experience going into it, I just based off the trailer, I was like, I think this is going to be kind of hard to immerse myself in.
Right.
And like take it seriously. But as soon as the like boy band stuff started, I never once thought to myself, he's a monkey. Which I thought was crazy. Like it was such an immersive experience. Just all the elements coming together that I never once was like, oh my God, this monkey just, whatever. I don't know.
Just did cocaine.
Yeah. Got frosted tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
The blonde monkey.
The blonde
little
version.
phase.
Yeah, a little phase when he's blonde. Yeah, I think it was such an interesting choice, and it was so effective though. Like you were still able to feel all of the emotions, and this movie felt so personal.
Yeah.
It felt really, I feel like I really understand everything he was I feel like I understand where he was coming from, the situation that he was put in, and they did it, and they packaged it. It looks so cool. The visuals are incredible. There's an amazing scene in the third act that's like a big third act moment.
Yes.
And it's just like, you're like, what? This doesn't even make sense in this film.
Yeah.
But it was so cool.
Now I don't want to get ahead of myself, but when I was in the theater watching this with you last night, I kept thinking to myself, this reminds me of my experience watching Dune 2. Now, they're very different movies, and Dune 2 is operating on a very original level, and is, in my opinion, a masterpiece.
Yeah.
This movie, I wouldn't say is quite a masterpiece, but the originality of it and how stylish it is and just fun, it kept reminding me of that experience. Like, I just had such a good time last night watching it.
I had an amazing time, and I think the thing that you're comparing it to Dune is spot on, is because Dune brought you into this world so well. They did the same thing with this.
Yeah.
They bring you into the world so well that like you're just immersed in this environment, and it's like kind of gritty, and I loved the way they filmed it, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of handheld, a lot of like really fast glass. So like the depth of field was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was noticing it seemed like they had a lot of Helios lenses in there, maybe.
Oh, really?
It looked like they had some vintage glass in there. There were some flares that looked like very much Helios, I thought.
The one thing, and I haven't done any research into the actual like production aspects of it.
Neither have I.
The one thing that was kind of taking me out of it was the film grain the whole time.
Oh, really? I loved it.
Well, I did like it.
Yeah.
Too. It did, just like there were moments where I'm like, this is definitely, or at least I think it's done in post. I'm assuming it was all done in post.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I feel like they probably shot it digitally.
Yeah.
They could have ran it through film. So like, there was a movie we just watched. What was it? I can't remember.
Oh, that's okay.
You can do a process where you take your digital format and you literally like run it through film, like onto a 35 mil, and that's how you deliver it, which gives you the grain.
Yeah.
I think the grain, as a VFX artist, I feel like the grain hides a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it almost sells the monkey a lot more.
I think you're right.
But I still loved it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really interesting choice.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to feel really stupid if it was shot on film, because the other thing...
yeah, it could have been. Yeah, 100% could have been.
Dude, and if they did VFX on film, that's
pretty cool.
Pretty
gnarly. I mean, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
Before they're, digital cameras are...
Yeah, but with like a CGI monkey, motion tracking and all of that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's
pretty
big feat.
I think a lot of those guys they'll run a digital camera as well if they're doing VFX for film.
Okay.
Or I just saw this video the other day where they mounted a 360 camera on top of their camera and ran it at the same time. And if you run it in line with the sensor, you can get all the tracking data for everything around you, and use that tracking data on your real camera. So then you have like a perfect track. Because if you try to use it from if you have a vintage glass or something on the front of your camera, the tracking points are like really tough to get. So that allowed them to do. So there's so much technology now with that, and they crushed it. Looks great.
I want to go back to what you said about the film like feeling really personal. So something that I read is that the director, and I'm blanking on his name, I know it's Michael Gracie. I I guess originally this wasn't even going to be a film. He just met with Robbie Williams and wanted him to talk about his life.
Okay.
And recorded his voice.
Mm.
And those recordings are in the film.
As the narration?
Yeah.
Wow.
As his narration.
That's very cool.
I thought that was really interesting because it does feel very personal. This is probably like, as far as biopics are concerned, this feels like the most like personal depiction of an artist that I've seen.
Especially with him voicing himself.
Yeah.
Like that aspect alone. It's like when I listen to Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, like he's reading it.
Yeah.
So you're getting it like straight from the source. It feels so authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And there were a lot of moments in this movie that did not like reflect him in like a positive light.
Yeah.
You know, he's very self-aware and like has like a lot of humility.
Yeah.
I feel like that really enhanced the story of this movie compared to other biopics. Because, you know, I saw A Complete Unknown and I loved it. I thought Timothée Chalamet did an amazing job.
But he wasn't a monkey, so like
he wasn't a monkey though.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? But there's something about the story of that movie that is just like there isn't really a story. It is kind of a series of like, oh, this is a moment where he can play this song now, you know.
Got it, yeah.
Where this movie, I really feel like the story and the songs played together in a way that enhanced the emotion really effectively.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there wasn't a song that didn't have some kind of meaning to the story.
Yeah.
And I think there was a line in the movie that really affected me, and it was I forget the name of the producer that he ended up working with later in his career, but he said to him, if you know a good song costs something.
Yeah, that was cool.
And what he meant by that is, you know, it costs like a piece of you, you know, something in your life that you have to be real about and face, you know.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, do you want to start getting into spoilers?
I think so, yeah. Do we want to talk about who this movie's for?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
This movie's for anyone, dude.
Yeah.
I think anybody would enjoy this film.
I agree.
If you suspend your disbelief and you just allow the movie to take you on a journey, I think you're going to love it.
I think everyone should see this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be very vocal about this movie to a lot of people because I do fear that at least here in the US, a lot of people are going to kind of brush this movie to the side.
Yeah.
But I think if people give it a chance, it's going to be a very loved movie here. Yeah. I think it'll definitely at least be a cult classic.
For sure.
And I know in the UK, it's probably like their favorite movie. Yeah. It's their Dune 2.
Yeah, this is their Dune 2. Those freaking UK guys. Those Brits. No, one more thing I want to say is like, it's almost like not a musical.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really feel like a musical.
Yeah.
There are obviously musical numbers in it, but I was never like put off when somebody started singing.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say towards the beginning with the boy band stuff, my natural inclination is to kind of, cringe at that. But
because you like boys.
Yeah. No, I mean, nothing wrong with that. I just, I don't like boy bands.
I know, yeah. You're afraid of them.
Yeah, I'm very afraid.
You like them too much.
I'm afraid I'm going to like it too much.
Yeah.
No, but what I thought was interesting is like, I feel like that's another element of the movie that some people, like if they know that he originally was in a boy band, they're going to be like, I don't want to watch a movie about a boy band, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that it was done in a lens from somebody who also hates boy bands.
Yeah, he didn't want to be in the boy band.
Didn't want to be in the boy band.
Yeah.
He hated the boy band just as much as anybody else that hates boy bands.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that was reflected through the way they represented the boy band stuff.
Absolutely.
And
they made fun. The movie was very self-aware of itself, and they made fun of moments.
Yeah.
You know, even in serious moments, they made fun of stuff. We should get into. Let's talk about some spoilers.
Let's do it. So, just to recap, this movie is for everyone.
Yeah,
I do think if you like musicals, you're going to freak out once you see this movie. And I think really just for anybody that wants to do something in their lives that, you know, is important to them, that has like some type of aspiration or goal, you know, and you've ever felt down about that, like this was such an inspiring movie too.
I agree. I left feeling very good about my goals and the things that I want to achieve.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into spoilers.
Spoiler time. Go see this movie.
This is a spoiler warning. Consider yourself warned.
All right, let's get into it. So the movie starts with him as a boy monkey.
Yeah, a little boy monkey.
Yeah, a little boy monkey.
Who's so bad at soccer.
Not great at soccer. Pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, so embarrassing.
But, you know, you kind of feel for him. He's living at home with his grandma, his dad, and his mom. Him and his grandma have a very close relationship. They watch TV and eat chips together, which I thought was pretty cute.
Yep.
And there's a moment where him and his dad comes in the room, and who was it? It wasn't Frank Sinatra on TV.
No, it was somebody else. But it was My Way.
Yeah.
The song.
He was singing My Way by Frank Sinatra. And him and his dad are singing that song together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, very early on, you realize that, like, this is a big inspiration for him just as a kid. You know, it's something that he shares with his dad. And they have this really beautiful moment where they're singing together, which then gets interrupted by him, Robbie accidentally hitting the TV antenna. And you see that shift in his dad.
Yep.
And very early on, you kind of realize, oh, this guy, there's something about him that I'm not going to like, you know? But yeah, do you have anything to say about?
I noticed something. In that scene, we go through the first chorus of that, or the first verse of that song. And right when they're about to sing the chorus, he knocks over the antenna. You don't get the chorus until the end of the movie.
Oh, wow.
It was like a huge, like, tension, or it was an interruption. It was unresolved.
Yeah.
And that's the music term, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an unresolved beat.
That's a really good observation because it is a bookend.
Then they bring it back at the end, but you don't. And then that chorus is so big at the end.
Yeah.
When he brings his dad on stage. I know we're jumping, but I wanted to. That was one thing I noticed.
We have to talk about it. Yeah. It, to me, was a very effective bookend.
100%. And because you didn't get it at the beginning, you know, you're waiting for the grand My Way. I did it my way.
Yeah.
And you don't get it until the very end. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So then we kind of see the shift in Robbie's life. He realizes, you know, he's not an athlete, and he starts trying to pursue theater in school as a young boy. And he's very self-critical.
Yes.
He falls on stage with his first performance, but then he immediately kind of has this cheeky remark, and everybody in the audience laughs. And he realizes, like, okay, you can mess up. You just have to, you know, be fun about it or whatever.
Show off a little bit.
Yeah, show off a little bit. Yeah. And in this scene, it's kind of our first glimpse into his dad really being a piece of shit. He didn't show up to the play at all, and he was at his own open mic performing comedy to like 20 people.
Yeah, and maybe. I love they intercut that scene so well too. Every scene is intercut with another scene so well.
Yeah.
And he wins like $5 or something.
Yeah.
He's like, he got $5 that night.
Yeah.
But he loved every second of it.
that was kind of the start where I was like, oh, this is really interesting editing.
Yeah.
Because you can feel for the dad, you know, wanting to. He obviously has these goals as well for himself. He wants to be one of the gods, like Frank Sinatra or whatever. And he was doing a pretty good job as a comedian, you know, in that room. But then you realize, but he's not there to support his son.
Yeah.
And Robbie is kind of thriving at his first play, and thought that was a very interesting effective way to edit that scene by intercutting it.
It was great.
So then after that, we fully go into his dad abandoning him, saying he's going to a soccer game in this bus full of people. And that was a very effective shot. There's so much energy going on in the bus, but then his dad, he was like kind of energetic at first, but then he just kind of drops.
Yeah.
Because he's abandoning his son, and I thought that was a really interesting visual contrast.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
I agree.
So now Robbie and his mom and his grandma, they're in a smaller place together, and they're just kind of living their life. Robbie is kind of a teenager at this point, and he just wants to be a star.
Yeah.
He wants to be one of those gods, just like his dad wanted to be a god, and his dad praised these gods, on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this moment, he obviously is kind of beat up about his dad, and he gets a call from his dad. Well, I guess I'm jumping the gun a little bit. He goes to an audition for a boy band that was announced on the radio. And he goes to this audition, and he doesn't really do that great. Mm-hmm. He can tell that, I think the guy's name was Nigel that was auditioning him. Didn't really care for his performance. Then he makes a cheeky remark, and Nigel kind of notices that. And we don't really get a resolution right away in the scene. He goes back home, and he's waiting by the phone adamantly, just waiting for that announcement that he's in the band. And the phone rings, super excited. He gets on the phone, and it's his dad asking him to come visit him, and I guess work for him for like a gig or something. And that was one of the moments where I like absolutely wanted to bawl crying. Even just thinking about it now, it's like, damn, that was such a great way to edit that scene. And just like the writing of that scene, because this like larger than life aspiration to be this star is what he's waiting for by the phone. But then his dad calls, and it's even bigger than that to him. He has so much love for his dad, and he wants to be with his dad so much that he almost forgets entirely about the boy band audition. And it was just like this really beautiful moment between him and his nan. Mm-hmm. And they're just laughing, and he's just like, you can like see like relief in his face.
Man, they hit those emotional moments in this film so well. It was so well done. I was in. And that was such a cool way to edit and write that scene. Awesome.
So then from there, Robbie goes out to see his dad, and you quickly realize, oh no, his dad's still a piece of shit. He's just holding a spotlight at a gig for one of his dad's gigs that he's an MC for.
He's just
performing. No,
he's just MCing.
And so that was pretty sad. But then he kind of tells his dad like, I failed my classes, mom's gonna fucking freak out, you know. So he's kind of dreading going back home to his mom, but he does. And he's at the doorway and he's kind of hesitant to tell her.
Yeah, he's going to tell her that he failed all of his exams.
Yeah.
And at this point, he doesn't know if he's gotten into the band or not.
And his mom meets him at the door. And, you know, she obviously is a little hesitant because he was just with his deadbeat dad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, how is it? And, you know, he's like, oh, it was great. And then right as he's about to tell her that he failed his exam, she tells him, you're in the band, you're in that boy band.
Yeah.
And you know, they celebrate, and it was a beautiful,
it was awesome because when he finds out they're on this, he's outside this he's outside the house, it's at night, street lights and everything, and then when he finds out, just like a spotlight comes down, but it's like a glittery spotlight. Or it's not glittery. It just has like a bunch of points of light, like a disco ball almost.
Yeah.
And like that, it like fully illuminates the environment. Yeah. And that was such a cool. There was so many of those cool like textures that they put into this film. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was like very surreal moments.
Yes. Yeah.
Where like you were saying, like the whole street is just illuminated by what would be like concert lights. Or something.
Yeah.
Very like outside of reality.
Yes.
Which I think is always such a cool, like, I feel like most biopics, that's something that they kind of lack, is there's these really visionary, creative people, you know, that we're following, and the actual environment and style of the film don't necessarily portray
or reflect that.
How imaginative they are. And that's what this film nails, is how imaginative he is, how he views himself, but also how he views his world and you know what he aspires to. It's incredible.
I know, it was awesome. So visually dense.
Yeah. So then from there, he is in the boy band.
Yeah.
And they start playing at a bunch of gay clubs. Which I thought was really funny and interesting, you know, because I could see that actually happening, you know.
Right.
This is kind of the moment where you realize, like, this isn't an outlet for him to express himself. This is something that's very manufactured by somebody else, and it's not authentic, you know. Anyways, but then they get their first gig in front of girls.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the tipping point in their career.
Mm-hmm.
And all these girls are just screaming, and they have like the best performance ever, which I thought was such a, like, just the whole scene was so fun.
Yeah.
And I don't really like musicals very much, and I don't like boy bands, but I had so much fun watching that.
I know, dude. I feel the same way.
And after they have their first performance in front of, you know, girls, they kind of celebrate with this music number, you know, break into a song that's on this street in London. I forget what the street is, but over there, I guess it's like a very popular street.
Right. All these different shops and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was the exact moment where I was like, I'm going to love this movie by the end of it, because that music number and like the choreography of the scene was so cool.
Yeah. There was like outfit changes.
Yeah.
There was so many extras.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they extended the extras in CG in some places.
Maybe.
Especially for the last shot in that scene.
Well,
the whole street is filled with people. If they did it for real, incredible.
So this is something that I found researching the movie that was insane, is that scene took 1.5 years to film, because they shut down the whole street, and when they were in the process of filming it, the Queen died.
Oh, wow.
And
that's like a big deal for them.
That's a huge... Yeah. So true, dude. I could care less about the queen.
We don't have queens.
Like, dude, here president gets assassinated. We're just like, yeah. So dinner. No, but so like the shop owners on that street, you know, I'm assuming the extras, like everyone in respect of the queen wasn't able to shoot. And so their original permit, you know, they were outside of that bounds by the time that they could shoot. So they had to get another permit and like basically almost redo that scene to finish it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's a oneer.
Yeah.
It's a simulated oneer.
Yeah, I don't know if I couldn't tell if there were cuts. There were scenes that are oneers.
Yeah.
That I was like looking like,
yeah,
is there a cut?
I only noticed one.
Anything.
I only noticed one.
Okay.
And it was just a wipe. Like from outside a shop to out, or from inside a shop to outside. Okay. It was like, you could tell it was a cut.
Yeah.
But dude, I've been seeing, this is a little off topic from this movie, but I saw some BTS of Joker 2. And there's a oneer at the beginning of that movie. And there's a cut it's like Joaquin is on screen and they just match cut it.
Whoa.
And then you would never even I would never say, oh, there's a cut right there. Cause like, it's just impossible to tell. So there could have been a million cuts in that oneer, but it was so seamless.
Yeah.
Just like every transition in this film was seamless.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It, not to disparage the quality of the film, but it almost like reminded me of AI with like how like AI shifts, you know,
especially
are so
during that scene.
Yeah.
Because of the outfit changes.
Yeah.
Like they would just put on a jacket and then they'd be in like a new outfit or something. It's like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to know who the editor for this film is.
Yeah.
Because
Jamie?
where is he?
We don't have a
yeah, we're gonna say it so many more times, but
yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah, the editing was awesome.
But yeah, I think that little fact makes me wonder if the whole street, like if those were real extras.
Yeah.
If that was actually choreographed.
Because it's like very chaotic throughout that whole scene. You know, like they have their own little dance numbers, the boys do.
Yeah.
But the rest of everybody is kind of like, what the heck is going on? They're just observing. And then once you get to that final scene where they get the wide shot of the whole street, every single person is synchronized dancing in the street. And it was just like, I was like, wow.
That
was cool.
It reminded me of the traffic scene, the opening scene in La La Land.
Yeah, where everyone stops or they all start dancing. And then, yeah.
But honestly,
they all get on their cars in the end.
Yeah, like I think it's like either on the same level of that scene or maybe even more as far as extras are concerned.
That scene in La La Land was the weakest scene to me in the movie.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying as far as like choreography is concerned and like having a bunch of people, like I feel like it's on par, if not even better.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Just because of how stylized it was.
Yeah. But then from there, so the band, they're riding a high that kind of is short-lived. And you immediately start seeing kind of the tension between the band. Pretty much everybody in the band doesn't like Robbie.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of plays back to his childhood, you know, when he played soccer, like nobody liked him, you know, and wanted him to play. And so it kind of brings back this trauma for him of his childhood, and he's just different from all of them. He's very imaginative, and he wants to like kind of write his own music.
Yeah. And that's where the monkey thing really shines, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I know they're not seeing him as a monkey, but like you feel the alienation from them.
Yeah.
Even more, I think, visually.
Yeah.
And he wants to write his own music, but he won't share it with anybody.
Yeah.
He's like writing lyrics, but not like, he's not letting it out.
Yeah. I thought the tension really started to build there, and there is a line that Nigel says, and he says, "Look around, look at each other. in 5 years we're all gonna hate each other.
Yeah.
That was so on point for like boy bands. And I mean, it just makes you think about like pop culture in general, like how manufactured things are, you know, with pop celebrities and stuff. But so that was cool, or not cool, but interesting. They did that. And basically it all comes to a point where the band asked Robbie to not be in the band anymore. But I think he was already kind of feeling that tension and he wanted out anyways too. So
at this point too, he's also a mess.
Like,
he's been doing drugs a lot.
Doing cocaine.
A lot of cocaine.
There was that scene where that girl is jerking him off.
Oh yeah.
And then he sees Nigel, because Nigel doesn't want any of the boys to have any type of sexual relationship or relationship in general with any girls that are their fans. And so this one girl's jerking him off, and then he sees Nigel across the room looking at him. And so she stops and he just keeps
he keeps going himself. Hilarious. And like makes eye contact.
Has eye contact with Nigel. Oh my god, and then, that was chaotic.
And then climaxes.
Yeah,
that was hilarious, dude.
And then it ended up being that one record label CEO's daughter.
That
was interesting. But yeah, he is a mess at this point. He's doing cocaine frequently. Not in a great place. We also get that scene where he goes to I don't know if it was his apartment or like a hotel room or something, but his dad is there with some fan, and that was that was a moment where you really realize, like, okay, this guy is suffering through some real issues with his father. You know, his dad doesn't actually care about him. He's gonna use him, you know, and his fame. And there's like constantly girls outside of the places that he is, whether he's at his mom's house or, you know, I think that was probably his apartment. But that was a pretty critical scene.
Well, right after the band tells him that they don't want him in there anymore. Is one of the coolest scenes, I think.
I agree.
When he gets in his car.
That was a sequence that I think should go down in movie history. I felt the emotion of him driving. So he drives off from the house after they say they don't want him in the band anymore.
There's girls outside the gate. They're flashing their titties.
And he's driving full head on
speed,
to them, full
towards
speed,
them,
just ready to crash through the gate that they're behind. All of them disperse. And it's this scene where he's just like suicidal. He doesn't care. He is driving as fast as he can.
It's raining. The roads
raining.
Are wet.
He's on coke.
He's coked up. You're like, there's no way this goes well for him.
And he's just like playing chicken with so many cars. And the energy was so kinetic in that scene. Just like seeing him driving, like you felt the raw emotion of him shifting gears, and the song that he's singing was just so sad but powerful and emotional. And as soon as he crashes into the water, that was, I think, one of the coolest visuals of the movie.
Because he crashes. It's like it doesn't crash into the water. He crashes like sideways, like he's still driving. You know, and then gravity, or, you know, then you're in the water with him. And then there's the coolest scene of like fans of his swarming him and like grabbing onto him and like pulling him deeper. And
it reminded me of Harry Potter. That one scene where he's in the water. It's been such a long time since I've seen that. Was it Dementors or
it was whatever creatures were protecting the thing he was going to get. I totally remember that.
Just like swimming around him. Dude, it was his fans in this case.
It was awesome.
And like paparazzi and stuff, flashing cameras underwater. Just such a cool visual. I think like after that scene, I thought to myself, like, I'm going to watch this movie to study it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie that I will study 100%. For myself.
For writing and transitions, it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, and just visual elements of
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, it was so creative.
Yeah.
And it just floored me because I did not expect that going into this
I know,
movie.
dude. I didn't expect half the shit that's in this movie. Like, I didn't even know anything because I didn't watch a trailer.
Yeah.
But like, when
I asked you to see a monkey movie,
yeah, when I was like, oh yeah, I'll go see a monkey movie. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't expect to cry
on Friday.
Yeah.
So
I think right after that is the boat scene.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's talk about this.
Oh yeah. So soon after he's suicidal and everything, he is not doing well, and he's at like a yacht party, which. I'm assuming was like around New Year's or something because there were fireworks and stuff.
It was New Year's. They're like, that's how it starts. Like 3, 2, 1, and then he like, he kisses himself, I think, or he does a little like kiss and then puts it on his cheek or something. He's woo.
And he's sitting by himself, and this girl, Nicole Appleton.
Yeah.
Kind of hangs back, and they're all wearing masks, and he's talking to himself, and he says he's like telling himself, you're gonna be massive.
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
She's like, what's massive?
Like, I just want to be a little girthy.
Yeah.
But it was interesting little kind of meet cute, and they're just talking about. He tells her that he's, from Take That, the boy band, and she laughs at him, and they have kind of a little flirty scene together, a little meet cute. And he takes off her mask and he realizes that she's Nicole Appleton. I forget the name of
her. And she's in a girl band.
Yeah, she's
in a famous girl band.
Kind of like Ice Spice.
Yeah.
Or Ice Spice. The Spice Girls.
The Spice Girls, yeah.
Ice Spice is way different.
Yeah.
But so they have something in common, and they're kind of talking about music and, how they hate how manufactured it is and the fame, how hard it is to be famous. And I forget exactly what she says, but it leads Robbie into, for the first time, talking about or singing about what's right in front of him.
Yeah.
And he's singing about the two of them.
Yeah. She's the One, I think, is the song.
Yeah, She's the One.
Yeah.
And this was another top powerful scene of the movie.
Yeah, I think there's 3 scenes that stand out to me the most. This is one of those scenes.
I would say this is the scene for me that stood out to me. Or like, there are, I would agree, like 3 scenes that stood out, but this is my favorite one.
This one was incredible.
Because the editing, it's really important to me that if there's a relationship in a movie, that it's done well. And it's always so hard to represent a passage of time with 2 people effectively,
right?
Where you feel like that connection between them is real,
Mm-hmm.
And the editing of this scene, you're seeing them meeting each other for the first time, intercut with important moments of their life, the happy times, the downfalls that they're going to face. And it almost like scared me in a way where I'm like thinking about my own life. And when, you meet someone for the first time and, things play out the way they play out. And I don't know, it was a very relatable scene. It
was so unique the way they put that together.
Yeah.
Like seeing the visuals of their future lives.
Yeah.
And then cutting back to first of all, amazing dance number between just them 2.
I am not a person that notices dancing that much. Like my mom's a huge fan of Dancing with the Stars and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you've only seen every season, right?
I've only seen every season. I'm like never, I've never gotten it. Like if I see a really cool dance or something, I don't know, then I'm like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I'm actively impressed by.
Right.
And that's not to say that they're not doing anything talented. but I just don't notice it.
Right. Yeah.
And this number was very noticeable. The choreography and everything was so powerful, and just the movement of the camera, and
it was beautiful, dude. It was beautiful.
And what I loved is like there's fireworks just shooting up the whole time when they're dancing together. And then there is this cut into their future when he's proposing to her. And there's all these candles lit around the house, and it matched the setting of the boat that they were in, and like all the lights in the background.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then that's the part that's so cool, is it's so efficiently told through the edit, because you get so much information about their lives through this montage that but you're still in the meet cute moment and the dark moments, and it's just, that's so cool. Such a cool way to tell a story.
Yeah, well, it was just so emotional because of the different conflicting emotions that you're feeling as you're seeing these things play out. So cool.
It was awesome.
And I do think that like after that scene, as this movie progressed, I just loved it more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking during that scene, I'm like, this did everything that Bohemian Rhapsody like wanted to be. And you look at the editing of Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was just awful.
Are you talking about Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, the Queen.
Oh, I didn't see the Queen one.
Oh, you didn't?
No, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I think we watched that scene that's on YouTube, and it got the world record of cuts in a scene.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, too many cuts.
And I don't want to like call out the editor, because I know the director was fired in the production of that movie. God. So really the editor is the only person that held that movie together.
Yeah.
But man, it's atrocious.
Yeah.
Really bad. And just in contrast with this movie, I was just blown away by this. I wasn't expecting it for a music biopic.
Yeah.
I like, especially with the trailer, like there were cool visuals in the trailer, but the thing that stood out to me was the monkey. I was just like, oh, surely like that's going to be the coolest thing.
You're trying to wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
That aspect of it. They delivered on so many aspects.
Yeah. So after the kind of relationship stuff, you're also seeing him really struggle with addiction at this point, with cocaine especially.
Yeah.
Him and Nicole, they are pregnant. They, find out that they're having a baby. But Nicole's manager, I don't know, manager for the girl band doesn't want her to be pregnant. So they have to get an abortion.
Yeah.
It was a very heavy scene where you realize the full weight of the industry, and how manufactured it is, and the reality that like you can't live your own life. You have to like be a puppet, know.
And that's right when he writes down that the first lyric we see him write down. Yeah. Because we know that he's writing stuff, but that's the first one he writes out. Yeah. Because he's feeling something so deeply in that moment. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. Very, very sad, but very effective. And so then Nicole and her band, All Saints was the name of the band. They get their number one, single at this point, and they're all celebrating. But Robbie notices somebody kind of in the doorway of the place they were. I don't even know where they were, like a hotel or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was Liam Gallagher from Oasis, which so cool to me to see, because I love Oasis. And it was just like an interesting kind of fact, or not fact, but just like I didn't realize that like Oasis, was kind of in the same timeline.
Yeah, there was some crossover there.
Yeah. And so you see this moment where Robbie, he looks up to Oasis and he's talking to them, and they're just douchebags. Total douchebags. And he's like, what's all the commotion in there?
Yeah. And like, oh, you got a number one? I remember when I got a number one. It was like one of those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I got so many number ones. I don't even know what to do with my number ones.
And so, in that moment, he kind of leaves his girlfriend's celebration of a pretty big moment in her career.
Well, I think they're married at that point, right?
Well,
or fiance?
Sorry,
at least fiance.
Fiance. I always say that, but fiance. And they kind of come back together, consolidate back at their house, and she was like, "Where are you off to, tonight?" And he tells her, "Oh, I met Liam Gallagher and blah blah blah." But then he's hypercritical about her song that they just went number 1 with.
Yeah.
And
he's
it's
like jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very jealous.
Yeah.
And I think he's being hypercritical of himself too, in that moment. Which you see represented by when he's like performing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, he sees versions of himself prior.
Mm-hmm.
He sees himself as a kid. He sees himself as a blonde monkey.
Yeah, we see all those moments too. Like the character designs are different phases of his life.
Yeah.
But all those phases are turned against him.
Yeah.
And just saying mean things about him and
in the crowd.
That like self-criticism was so cool represented. And the way he reacts on stage, it affects him. Like he'll stop singing and he'll like start to freak out and then he'll just get back into it. And that was so cool, the way that they handled that. Yeah. And the more his life goes on, the more versions of himself there are to hate him.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. I really liked the way they represented that because it was so personal. That self-criticism, I feel like all of us experienced that where you have that voice in your head, but to actually see it in front of you as a manifestation, really
it was
cool.
Terrifying. And like no one else understood why he was so scared to be on stage.
Yeah.
And it's like it's because I'm facing so many versions of myself that hate myself. I hate myself right now. And it was so effectively done. Yeah.
Yeah. So then from there, the abortion was a huge kind of tipping point in the way he wrote because he started, like you said, to write personal songs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's with, I think his name was Guy Chambers. And he's producing, music for Robbie, and he hates all of his songs. But Robbie shows him the song that he wrote around the time of the abortion.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
What was that song called?
That one was, I actually did look it
up. But anyways, it was a big tipping point, and the producer, you can see like
Something Beautiful.
Something Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Right away, he connects to the song, and they start making something. And from that point on, Robbie launches his solo career, and it just goes flying.
Yeah.
He gets very famous, and he gets to the point where there was this pinnacle point in his career where he wanted to perform at Nebworth.
Yeah,
which I've never heard of, but it must be something important.
It looks like a huge music festival.
Yeah,
or one venue maybe.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
And throughout the story, he gets to that point where he finally finds out that he's going to be performing at Nebworth.
Right.
But as that has been his like really big career goal, he's also just his quality of life is dwindling.
Yeah, his mental health is horrible.
Yeah.
Once he finds out he's gonna perform at his childhood dream,
Yeah. Which I thought was interesting because it's like he got what he wants or what he's wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also in the worst place of his life.
Yeah.
He is massively addicted to cocaine. He cheated on Nicole. Presumably with a lot of women.
Yeah.
And so they've broken up by this point. And he's
not yet. I think it's right after this scene.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because he finds out that he's playing Nebworth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's in the room with his dad, and he's like, I can't do it because I think he said he's like, I'm gonna get slaughtered out there because he knows there's gonna be a million versions of himself out there that are gonna tear him apart.
Yeah.
And they're like building that up so much.
Yeah.
And then his dad is like disappointed that he's being such a pussy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody understands. That was so cool, is like nobody understands what he's seeing when he's out there. They see the fame, they see the glory and everything, but they're not seeing how much turmoil he's having with himself.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, like shut up about it, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those shut up about it, and like you're famous and you're making all this money and like all this stuff. He's like, you don't understand what it's like to be me out there.
And I really thought
cool.
that, yeah, like by this point, when you're starting to see that, I think that's what separates this movie from other biopics, in my opinion, is it really gave you insight into why it would suck to be famous.
Yeah.
And I think that's always something where, like, you know, you might see that in a movie where it's like, oh, you know, I'm not doing well, and like they're like addicted to drugs and whatever because of it, but you never feel like an emotional weight. I think as somebody who's not famous, you know, I always think like, they need to suck it up.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like,
I've never seen that.
They
side
have
of it.
like, you know, everything they could want, you know. But this really portrayed why that could be such a damaging thing to somebody's mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was really sad.
Yeah.
And it really, I understood, I think, by this point, and it scares me because I hope I never get famous now.
It seems like a lot to handle.
It looks like I'm going to get famous.
Yeah, well, it's looking like we're going to get famous real soon.
I'm so worried.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like, that's like, he finds out he achieves his biggest dream or his biggest goal. And he's at his lowest point. He's at the most turmoil. He goes back to his apartment, and that's when Nicole finds a nail.
Yeah.
A female's like press-on nail.
Yeah.
And he's doing heroin in the bathroom. And that was such a crazy scene, and it was so heartbreaking, dude, because she's like, I've done everything for you. I'm the only person who like understands you and is trying to help you, and you just push me away at every time.
Yeah.
And she like kicks her wedding ring or engagement ring under the door. And then he doesn't even know. The
bathroom starts like filling up with tar.
Yeah, with black tar. Oh, so good, dude. And then she busts open the door because she doesn't hear him, sees that he's doing heroin, and oh my God, it's amazing. It's
and
like
kicks him out.
Yeah, kicks him out, throws him out of the house, and he falls down the staircase.
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a cool moment too.
All the feathers and everything.
Yeah, and he's like falling in slow motion down this just never-ending spiral.
And at first he kind of likes it. He's like enjoying the motion of it, and then he hits rock bottom, it seems like.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Oh, that reminds me of one thing that we didn't talk about before, and there's this one shot that I absolutely loved during the boy band kind of moment of his career, and they're all in the car together, and the car, there's like a hyperlapse around the car. Like they're just like speeding through time, and things are just like changing inside the car.
It's so good. Yeah, he's just messing with all the dudes, all the boys. But so they're cool. It's clearly showing a passage of time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, you know, not to keep talking about it, but it was so efficient.
I know. Who's the editor on this? I'm gonna look in this up.
Look that up.
Yeah.
Because the passage of time, like, there's a lifetime in this movie, and it was like around 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
Something that's really hard to do.
There's 4 editors: Martin Connor, Jeff Groth. Sorry, Jeff.
Say Groth.
Groth. Lee Smith and Spencer Susser. Excellent work, boys.
Seriously, some of the best editing that I've seen in a very long time. So anyways, we get to this point in his life where he's just completely down. He's pushed out everyone in his life. There's this very emotional scene where, you know, he keeps getting calls from his mom, and he keeps just declining them.
Yep.
And he finally answers right before he goes up on stage, and he finds out that his nan died.
Yep.
And
he's about to go on stage.
Yeah.
He finally answers his mom because he's kind of out of it and on drugs.
Yeah.
And she's been trying to call this whole time.
That was the part that broke me, dude.
This was the scene.
The connection between him and his nan was so strong.
Yeah.
And they really did a good job portraying that in the movie. And very simply, it was with the crisps is what they call it.
Yeah.
But, chips.
Yeah, chips as everyone else calls it.
Yeah.
Stupid British people.
Brits. But the scene broke me, man.
It was the funeral intercutting with the crowd.
Yeah.
And him remembering all these moments. And then also seeing Nicole at the funeral too. Yeah. She gives him the little kiss thing.
Yeah.
And it was, I was super close to crying. I could have cried if I wasn't in public, I think.
I'm not going to lie, man. You didn't see it, but
you had a few tears.
There was, I had one of those single tear
tear moments.
I wore glasses to the movie, which I don't always do, but I was like, I want to see,
You should do that for sure, yeah.
And I was so pissed that I wore glasses because there's so many times where I had to take them off and I was like...
Yeah, dude. That was so powerful, bro.
Yeah.
That was such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
And oh man, just everything was so well executed.
Yeah. So at this
is
point,
the second scene for me.
Yeah.
First one was the the boat scene. First one was the boat scene, the meet cute.
What about the when the band tells him he's out? He's driving in the car.
Oh yeah, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of scenes.
Yeah,
but this is a standout scene for sure.
Yeah. So
this whole sequence, I was fighting with myself not to cry.
Yeah.
And just so impressed with what they were able to accomplish with this. It was incredible.
Yeah. So at this point, he's kind of at a loss in his life. He's pushed out his friend, which I do want to bring this up because this is my only critique of this movie. Is there's this character in the movie that's some random guy is what it felt like, but is presumably his friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I never felt like there was a moment where we actually saw that established. He's just kind of there.
It was when he was on the billboard.
Mm-hmm.
It was that guy. Yeah. So
it was that guy.
It was at the very beginning. They established
he looked different, or
I think he just had long hair at that point, and then he cut his hair.
So that was just me.
That was just
I'm
you,
just
yeah.
an idiot. Okay, well, this movie's perfect then.
Yeah. Yeah. That was at the very beginning. They established that he was his friend.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So he's pushed out his friend at this point. His nan's died. He pissed off his dad by kind of almost speaking up to his dad about how he felt, but then and then Nicole, things didn't work out between them because he was cheating on her. So he really doesn't feel like he has anyone at this point in his life. And
he's still about to play Nebworth. Or what was it? Nebworth?
Nebworth.
Yeah. He's still about to play.
One thing he's aspired to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the moment where that line kind of comes back where it's like, an effective song is going to cost you something. And you're at this point in his life where he's about to play something that only a few people play, and it makes you a legend, but that cost so many things in his life.
Yeah.
And he performs at Nebworth, and I'm going to let you talk
about
this.
Before we get to it, I just want to bring up Jeff Groth one more time.
Okay.
He edited Joker, Folie à Deux.
Oh.
The Gray Man, Cherry, Joker, the first Joker, War Dogs, The Hangover Part 3.
Okay.
Project X.
Interesting.
So he has some pretty good credits on there. Which is awesome.
Yeah, this felt kind of like a Project X.
Yeah.
It was just I don't know, just everything you could think. What?
The other editor on here, Lee Smith, he's edited things like Inception, Dunkirk, Spectre, Interstellar, Elysium, The Dark Knight Rises, X-Men First Class. So he's got some... The Dark Knight, The Prestige,
dude, the
Batman
whole time,
Begins.
That is crazy that you say that, because
The Truman Show.
Something that I was thinking while I was watching the movie
RoboCop
is like, I was kind of telling you like, while we were watching it, I was like, oh, this reminds me of seeing Dune.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also thinking about The Dark Knight when we were watching this movie. Not that there's any similarities at all,
right?
But I was thinking like, this is an event film that we're witnessing right now. At least it should be.
It should be.
And it's crazy that people aren't talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Like when I look to see what people are saying, like nobody's really saying anything about this movie. And actually, I do wonder if, since we're in California, if it came out a week early than everybody else.
Maybe.
So I don't know. I hope that people see this podcast and will go see the movie because of it. Because
I hope so too.
Damn.
Okay, let's get into the amazing Nebworth performance.
He comes out swinging. He's
upside down. Yeah, upside down.
Hanging from the ceiling of this massive stage. He kind of looks like David Blaine.
Yeah, there's what I think he said 125,000 people in the audience or something.
Yeah.
And the scale is massive.
Huge.
And at this point they've already established that he's going to get destroyed out there because everyone in the crowd is a version of himself, and he hates himself.
Yeah. He sees the blonde monkey. He sees
they start
himself
off
as a child.
It starts off small. He's performing. There's regular crowd. They do like a pretty decent amount of time where he's just seeing, he starts to see versions of himself, and then it just devolves to everyone in the audience is a version of himself. It's building up, and then he stage dives, and then it's just a full-on gladiator battle. There's swords and like spike balls and he's just killing versions of himself, chopping off heads, impaling other monkeys. Sick. It was so cool, dude. The stage disappears. It's just like this battlefield now.
Yeah.
And then the final, the most impactful part of that was the version of himself as a kid, the pirate kid.
Yeah, from the first play.
From the very first play. And he comes down on himself as a kid, and the kid's like, no.
Yeah.
And then he
just impales him.
Yeah, it's like a slow knife. He gets down, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, there's a scene in I think it's in Saving Private Ryan. You know when the sniper gets killed or whatever?
It's Saving Private.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I know,
in Saving Private Ryan, the guy is like on top of him with a knife, and it's the bad guy on top of him with a knife.
Okay.
And he's trying to resist, and he just doesn't resist, and the knife slowly goes into the body.
Oh shit.
And that's the same thing he did with the child version of himself.
Yeah.
And then all the sound design gets sucked out.
Yeah.
He has killed the youngest version of himself.
It's like a vacuum.
Yeah. And all the sound goes away.
Yeah. It was, man, I mean, that was the other part in the movie that I almost broke.
Dude.
And it wasn't even, I mean, it was obviously like sad, but just the filmmaking was so impactful to me that it made me emotional.
I was in at like every part of this film. Yeah. I was fully in.
It reminded me, that scene specifically reminded me of Anchorman.
Yeah.
Where they're all like fighting each other.
Yeah.
It just gets so ridiculous. Like,
it was
the
awesome.
movie has fun.
Yeah.
It's like a very heavy moment, but it's done in a very fun way.
It's awesome, dude. It was so cool.
So he's performed at Nebworth. Mm-hmm. He did what he wanted to do. And now life is just kind of done for him. Mm-hmm. He goes out to this lake that's frozen at this point, in the film, and I think it's the like pond or whatever that's in front of his house.
Yeah.
And he slits his wrist. That was another effective part of the editing. Is the transition from the concert, you know, and he like slits his wrist there, but then you see him, you know, in the lake and blood is dripping down his wrist.
Beautiful transition.
And what I thought was so cool, and I think is such a small element, but the like little things like this in writing make me so happy. He slit his wrist with the razor that he's been chopping coke with the whole time.
And there was a moment earlier in the film too where he's at kind of his lowest point and he's just chopped his cocaine lines up and he like looks at it for a second.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's going to be an element later. Yeah. They did a good foreshadowing moment there.
Yeah. Where he got the 3 beats with it.
Yeah. Great.
So effective.
The end of this scene at the lake too was really cool. They brought back the light that his nan.
Yeah.
His nan, in the very beginning of the film, he's taking a bath, and she's like, he's telling his nan, he's like, what if I'm not good enough? Like, what if I'm a nobody? And she shines the mirror at his face, and she's like, the spotlight feels good. And then she points the light at his chest, which is kind of like but it's what's inside that matters. And it's like, it's a basic storytelling thing.
Yeah.
But when he's at the lake and he's at his lowest moment, he's got the razor blade, the sun comes up and the first light that hits him is right on his chest.
Yeah.
And it obviously is representative
right
of that.
Before he slits his second wrist.
Yeah. And that was very powerful.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful scene.
Really great visual storytelling that like culminates to that scene. There's so many elements that were established earlier on in the movie that just come to that point.
Yeah.
The razor, the sunlight, so great.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah, and so he decides to reconcile and accept his addiction issues to substances, and he goes to like an AA meeting type of thing.
There's a awesome little montage of him in his room when he decides to be sober, and it's like above the ceiling fan.
Yeah,
and it's like a top down, and
so
it's
seeing the
time lapse.
Fan. Yeah.
You're seeing the ceiling fan, and the ceiling fan is getting lower.
Well, no. The room
is coming up,
pushing up higher.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
whatever.
Well, I saw it because in the doorway you actually see the floor go above the doorknob.
Yeah, well, there's a fun moment in that scene where like you're pushing down on the ceiling fan, it's time lapsing, you're going through different motions, and he's got like, I think it's his papers or something, and they get caught in the ceiling fan, and it like rips up, and that was a cool like little visual claustrophobic kind of thing that was going on.
Yeah, well, it's a great representation of what it like assumably feels like to get sober.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And you've gone through that a few times.
No.
Yeah. One of these days it'll stick. Keeps relapsing.
But anyways, so he's in rehab now, and one of the things, this is where I would say, so that scene, you know, where he's about to kill himself, very powerful. Then after that, this is where I feel like the movie starts to get a bit conventional.
Yes.
And I don't exactly know, like I understand wrapping the movie the way they did.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to, at least for a large audience, you don't want people to leave the theater feeling depressed and wanting to kill themselves.
Yeah, right.
And so their choices made sense to me, but it was very conventional. You know, the person that's holding the AA meeting or whatever you want to call it, she's saying, you know, you gotta reach out to people, you know, in your life, and you know,
forgive people or repair your closest relationships.
Yeah. So we get a montage of him, you know, he goes back to the one member of the boy band that he was kind of beefing with, and gives him this watermelon that he took from him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, that to me was a visual element that I was like, it's whatever.
It's fine.
You know,
at this point, you kind of understand where the movie's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's reconciling with everybody, you know, from his past, his girlfriend or his ex-fiance, Nicole, who now is married to Liam Gallagher and is having a baby with Liam Gallagher, which I thought was kind of a heartbreaking.
That was still heartbreaking, dude.
I didn't realize that's what happened. You know, in real life.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah,
that's still sad for me.
Very heavy moment, but you know, he there's a tender moment between them in the car, and Liam Gallagher flips him off,
which I thought was also awesome.
And
like
and then it culminates to the last scene of the movie where he's at the Royal Albert Hall, and he's for the first time performing what he wants to actually perform, which is My Way. Well, it presumably he's doing kind of like a what would you even call that style of music? I'm so uncultured.
I know that's the problem with you.
I know. But like Frank Sinatra-esque you know, music. He's probably doing covers or something. I don't know.
I think he probably
I don't know if
it looked like he was playing a gala event. Almost.
Yeah.
And this was going to be his final song of the night.
Yeah. And so his mom and dad are there. And there's this moment where, you know, the song kind of starts to play in the background. And he shouts out his mom for always being there. But then, you know, he talks about how there's somebody in the room that's a lot like him, you know, that gave him all his good qualities, but some of his bad ones too. And he brings his dad on stage to sing My Way with him.
And there's a good plot point in there. The dad always wanted to play for a big audience.
Yeah.
He has been jealous of his son.
Oh yeah, that's true. They have that moment at the lake.
Yeah.
Where they kind of have another falling out, I guess, or I don't know. Yeah. No, that's a good point. But like you were saying kind of before, this is the bookend moment where they continue the song where they left out from the beginning, which I'm so glad you brought that up, because I didn't realize that. I knew that, like, oh, this is a bookend, like they started with the song in the beginning and they're ending with it, but
after that whole journey, you know, at this point you still haven't heard the My Way chorus. Or that, at least that grand, you know, which I thought was awesome. And then you get to finish it, and they do cut back to some of the old footage where they're doing the same kind of choreography together. And then they come back to the present day. And it was beautiful, man. It was conventional, but it was beautiful.
It was very conventional.
Yeah.
Like that's where you know, I'm not gonna say like the movie was flawless. Because I do think towards the end it really just was like, okay, we got to wrap this up the way people want it to be, which I respect. You know, but was conventional, but still a very tender moment, and I thought executed very well. I think just with the writing too, you know, it was sweet.
It was really sweet, man.
Yeah.
And they packaged it in such a amazing way. Yeah. I want people to see this movie, dude.
Me too, man. I want people to talk about this movie. Like, I really think that if people see this movie, it's going to be talked about.
Yeah.
I want to look at my notes. What else did I have about this? Yeah, no, I mean, we hit everything. Speechless.
Yeah. Fantastic theater experience. It would be great at home too.
Yeah.
Very cool visuals throughout the whole film, and was emotionally impactful.
Yeah.
And a lot to learn from this movie for me and for you too, you know, as filmmakers ourselves, you know, I tend to I always wonder if that, I mean, it has to. I like my appreciation for the craft, I feel like maybe goes deeper than a regular person. Because I have tried to make things.
Yeah.
You know, so seeing something executed this well and being able to deliver a feeling is the coolest thing for me. And when it's done well, I really appreciate it. So this was a great experience.
I agree. I mean, you know, people when they watch this movie, they're not probably going to think like, oh wow, that was edited really well.
Right.
Unless, you know, they're a filmmaker. But I think because of just how like visually stimulating the images are. Yeah. And like every image, I feel like there's just a lot of energy.
Yes.
You know, every single frame just feels alive. And I kind of watching that movie, it made me realize that like not all movies are able to achieve that type of energy.
Yeah.
I think people are going to love this.
Yeah.
Where do you think this movie falls in the like history of movie monkeys?
I would put this at the top of monkey movies for me.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I would say for me, I would say King Kong is like probably the biggest movie monkey. And then
I mean in size. Well, isn't like Kong Skull Island? He's like massive in that movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, in size, but also
because like Robbie Williams is more of like a regular sized monkey.
But like to me,
is he an ape? What is?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm uncultured.
Yeah, we don't know much about Britain. Are there a lot of monkeys in Britain, or is it just
they're all
this
monkeys?
Guy? They're all monkeys over there.
Kidding.
Okay.
No, but as far as like when you think of like when somebody says movie monkey, what do you first think of? I would say King Kong. Or
I go to Planet of the Apes right away. Yeah, which I liked a lot.
I also go to 2001: Space Odyssey.
I was going to say I get those images in my head too.
Yeah,
and obviously Rampage with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I don't think about that ever. I try not to think about that. You just resurfaced it. Why?
I never saw that one. I don't know.
I admittedly haven't seen the whole movie, but I've seen things, and I hate them.
This movies are kind of fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah. No, but this was way better. I'd rather.
Yeah. I think this goes right up there.
Yeah.
With movie monkeys for me.
You know what I don't like about this movie? The title.
Better Man.
It doesn't provide much context for what the film is.
Yeah. I think I want to say, and I don't know.
Is it a song? Did he make a song called
It might be one of his songs.
Damn it.
Because
so uncultured. I don't know anything about these British monkeys.
I think it was the song that was playing at the very end. He goes to his grand's gravesite and he plops a TV and has a bag of chips, and he was just watching the show that him and his nan would watch together. And I think Better Man is playing during that.
I think that's called Forbidden Road. Oh no, there is a Better Man on here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it plays.
No, there's a Better Man.
Regardless, both of us are very uncultured and aren't qualified to talk about it.
Yeah, we're just getting a bunch of misinformation in this. But I still don't think that maybe it works for the UK audience because they know that song. Yeah, that's got to be what it is. Because
things are definitely different in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, thank you guys for listening. Please go see Better Man. This was an incredible film, and I really think that people should watch this movie. Next week, we're going to be reviewing The Wolfman, so make sure to check that out. And as always, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, save the episode. And also you can follow us on Instagram at Boys Meet Film. And you can follow me on Letterboxd at mschnee. Did you set up
I got a Letterboxd too, man.
What's your Letterboxd?
I think it's Maximus Newhan.
You think?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is, we'll put it up.
You'll find it if you get this far.